we are back with Good Morning Riverside.
Good morning, Riverside.
Well, I say we're back. We really didn't go anywhere. Tony and I have been sitting here still working on some of the Kinks. And we're working with other bands, the Kinks Frequencies. Lead man right here, Kenny Vollaro.
That's my band. Frequencies.
Yes.
My Frequencies.
Kenny,
I'm in that
welcome
band.
back. Kenny comes back after coming out and we couldn't get our crap together.
Yeah, first couple of videos had no frequencies.
So we had no frequencies and we didn't have any audio, but Kenny was able to do a nice gig for us, so we got the jam, which was awesome, as it is always awesome to jam with you, Kenny.
It's always fun.
I got to play with you. My first jam with you was with Joyride at Stevie D's at the hometown.
Homegrown, yeah.
I get to play with like 5 different bands that day, and one of them was Joyride, and it was a blast. We got
so many things formed from that.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh, I know. El Guapo came from that band, from that group, and that was something amazing that Freddie DeAngelo started. I hope he can get it rolling again. And it basically just got a bunch of musicians together from all around to discuss everything from pickups to how to market your band, how to work with a drummer. Anyone who's had a drummer in their band knows that it's a little difficult, so you got to speak their language. Anyway, so Kenny, welcome.
Hi.
So excited to have you here. And as far as what this is all about, it's always to introduce the musicians to the world East Bay mostly.
Right.
But and because there's a lot of young kids that watch and stuff that hopefully we can see this, and what brought you into music? What did it?
A fan. I was always a fan first. I have pictures of me as a little kid with the big 70s headphones on. It was definitely as a fan first. The first records I fell in love with were probably the first album by the Police.
Yep.
The first album by the Cars.
And so what years around was this?
78, 79, yeah, so I was 5, 6.
Yeah.
And then there was a Beach Boys compilation that my parents had that I was really into. And I collect records now. I found a copy a few years ago for like $10. It was great. And it's just as good now as it was back then.
Which has your favorite song on it?
Yeah, that is
one of your.
Of course it is.
Yeah. And I learned it to play with you someday.
We got to figure. I got to figure. It's hard.
It's that
piano chords are tough, and the bridge. The bridge is rough. But we're gonna do it.
Yeah, we're gonna do it. Yeah, I watched like some acoustic kid plays it. But as far as influences, like who, because you play guitar, you play in a band that does a lot of '80s covers and stuff. But what do you? A lot of people play in bands and they play covers of stuff that they did not.
Well, it's funny. The band I'm in now, Frequencies, is probably the band I've been waiting for my whole musical life, because we're playing music that I really love. For the most part. Yeah. There's always those few where you're like, whatever, it's fine. But no, my influences. It's funny. When I was a kid, thinking about guitar, I listened to all the hair bands. I listened to Rat and Dokken, because that was the time.
Why wouldn't you? Yeah.
That was the time. But then I heard The Cult. Probably 1987 or so. I heard The Cult, 86, 87. And that opened up a whole different world for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, well, wait a minute. They're not playing The Cult on HJY.
Yeah.
At the time, they weren't. They're like, oh, well, they're playing it on BRU.
Yeah.
And that was it. The floodgates just opened.
And I honestly remember the first time HJY played it, and I can remember the guy said, and they've been out for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
You can hear him on BRU, but I can remember he actually said, if Led Zeppelin was to put out an album today, this is what it would sound like, and went into She Sells Sanctuary.
You know what I've been calling them?
And I was driving down the road going, this is amazing.
You know what I've been calling them for years? They're the goth AC/DC.
Yeah.
They're not reinventing the wheel. Yep. Everything's just 4 on the floor, and it's just good, riffy rock music. Yep. That's all it is.
Yeah,
the guitar playing's great. Yeah. It's just good stuff. But that opened the door to, around the same time, things like NXS, REM had just gotten a little bigger. The Replacements were really big on my list. I love the Replacements. The Cure, and all of that alt rock stuff. A little later on was the Smiths and Joy Division.
A lot of the BRU rock. A lot of that.
Yeah, all of it.
And it's funny, when your band plays out, they play a lot of BRU
Yeah.
music, which I used to listen to some of it, but and then you forget about it. And at first, when I first went to see Frequencies, I was like, man, this is a great song. Then like 3 times, this is a great song.
Yeah.
It's like
And
you
stuff you
forget
haven't
about
heard
it
'cause it's not
you
played
don't-
on HD.
Yeah, because you
You're not
don't
hearing
hear
it
it on the
accessible.
classic rock stations.
So
You know what I
many
mean?
more.
So
No,
it's really cool. It's a very good niche to
Yeah, we
have.
try to do, a lot of people, at least that I was friendly with at the time, kind of started switching over to BRU when all the grunge stuff happened. There's a whole world of college rock that happened before that. That's great.
Yeah.
And stuff that was crossover hits. INXS had a ton of hits. But before that, you could hear Listen Like Thieves on BRU.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you hear New Sensation, and it's like, oh my God, this great new band. No, they'd already been around for like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, it's like the same thing with the Police playing
Police,
punk
yeah.
style and then getting into there.
Yep.
Yeah. So the band that you're playing with now,
Yeah, Frequencies, shameless plug, we are at Boomerangs in Warwick on Saturday night.
yep.
I think we start about 8:30. Very, very cool the way, we have such a good time. We all really love the music that we're playing. We love the music we're working on. And we just try to have a good time.
And who's in this band?
My singer's Nicole Chase. Bass player is Paul Alves, and my drummer is Rob Byron. I had worked with Paul in a band called No Promises probably about 10 years ago.
Yep.
So we kind of knew each other. I briefly worked with Rob a little before COVID, but that never really got off the ground, never really did anything. So, I had run into Rob a couple of times a few years ago. We should do something. And then we talked about direction. And originally I said, I want to do like a new wave band. I want to play Blondie and the Pretenders and the B-52s. And we are doing that, but we're doing other stuff too. But that was the core of it. And
Huge dance music. That's one thing when you go to your gig, it's dancing from the first set through.
Yeah.
Where a lot of bands I've been in, it's like, okay, the first set's going to be just toe tap and rock and people sitting there drinking. Second set we'll do the dancing stuff. Third set we can blend it because people by that point dance to just about anything.
Yeah, I think it depends on what kind of a band you want to be. Because there's some bands, even locally, there's some bands that you go to kind of absorb the whole thing. You go to just kind of sit and watch and appreciate the performance. And that's great. That's not the kind of band we want it to be.
Yep.
We want it to be much more active.
It's all dance floor.
Dance floor. When I'm playing, I want to see people this far away from me.
Yep.
I want to see people 3 feet in front of me. If I'm not worried about someone spilling a drink on my feet, then they're not close enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes for a more fun, more exciting night. And because I did original music for a very long time before I ever got into covers.
Yep.
And the thing about covers that I like, probably above everything else, is the idea that for a few hours on a Friday night or a Saturday night, you go out and see a band, you're hearing music that you love, that you already know, you're singing along, you're dancing, you're having a good time. And for those few hours, not just because you're drinking, but you forget about all the junk that happens to you all week.
Yeah, you're in that moment.
You forget about fighting with your boss, or your kid made you angry, or got bad grades, or you got to cut the grass, whatever it is.
Yep.
You have all these responsibilities all week long, right? You have all this stuff all week long that's busting your chops, and then you can just blow off steam. And I've never seen anyone that was dancing have a bad time.
Yep.
I've never seen anyone that was laughing have a bad time. So, just forget about your problems for a while.
Your drummer,
Rob,
he interjects a lot between songs, so it's good, which is huge because I've noticed it in more than one gig. I said, okay, that's his.
Oh yeah, that's his deal.
The vibe as well too. A lot of times your sets, the songs go right from one into another. Doesn't even give you a chance to.
That's all by design.
Yep.
That is all by design.
Very well done.
Thank you. We mash up stuff. We medley stuff. We cover Joan Jett's version of Everyday People by Sly and the Family Stone. It's the simplest 2-chord song.
Yeah.
I could play it. I know like 5.
Right? See? It's a G and a C. That's all it is. But we mashed that at the end of, I can't even tell you how many different songs.
Yeah.
We've just, hey, cut the last chorus off of that song and go right into that. Okay.
Yep.
We have a couple of medleys that we do, like we do Pump It Up by Elvis Costello, and in the middle, so it's that song's got 4 verses. So you do the first 2 verses and choruses. Then we go into Wild Wild West by the Escape Club.
Yep.
Which is basically the same song.
Yeah.
So we do a couple of verses and choruses
A lot
of
of them
that.
are basically the same
Right.
song.
And then we go right back into Pump It Up and finish that out.
Yep.
We've been doing that. That was one of the first little mashup things that we had done. But that's something we like to. We have a lot of fun doing that, mashing up different songs. And there are certain songs you want to play that you may not have the instrumentation to do, and that's a way to be able to get the point across and then go moving into something else. We have a lot of fun. There's a lot of creativity going on,
Very cool.
considering it's a cover band.
And you said you guys are playing where?
We're at Boomerangs in Warwick.
Yep.
Boomerangs
And that's
Roadhouse.
coming up?
This coming Saturday, the 26th.
Very cool.
Yep. That's cool. Then I have my other thing.
Let's hear about your other
I've
thing.
got my other thing. I formed an acoustic duo somewhat recently with Derek Picard, who's also in Scarlet with Kate Tarian, who
Does
we
he
all know
Picard?
and love.
Or is that his last
No,
name?
no, it's just
Okay.
it's like Jean-Luc. He's Captain
He
Picard.
just jams.
And I'll tell you what, he is the captain. Too.
Yes.
He's the boss.
Yes.
I'm just tagging along.
Yeah.
He's totally carrying me. It's fine. But
He's a great guy.
Yeah, he really is.
I've
But
been in a
no,
band with Joe Karen. I know what you're talking about.
right. Sometimes you just got to
I
tag
can
along.
just sit there and are they applauding for me? And Joe, yeah.
Great, yes. So we're called 2 Sixes. We just started this year. We have a few gigs. We've got one coming up May 3rd. We're at JR's Seaside Tavern in Swansea.
Very great little place. We went to see you
Yeah,
guys
it's a
there.
pretty cool
Yeah,
place.
I'd say you're an 8.5. Not just a 6. I don't know Derek that well to give him a rating, but I'd
Well,
give him
somebody,
an 8.5.
I think it was the second gig we played, somebody was like, what is 2 Sixes? And what it really is we're 2 guys that both play 6-string instruments. We both play guitar.
Yeah.
So that's where it came from. But somebody asked, and right on the spot, Derek says, well, my wife says neither one of us is a 10, so.
But together we're 12.
So there it is.
All right?
Together we're
Together we have 2 points above anybody out there. So.
Yeah, hopefully that'll pick up steam and we'll have more gigs.
And what type of songs are you doing with that?
Everything. We do everything. We do everything from Piano Man without a piano.
Yeah.
And
Some Jovi.
yeah, we do some Bon Jovi. We do some kind of standards. We do, Summer '69 and American Girl and stuff like that. We do
For the crowd.
yeah. But
I'll
we
tell you,
do.
you can't
We have
not-
some
you can't
sing-along
not.
stuff, which is
Yeah.
hilarious. One of them, we weren't sure how it was going to go, but we do Yellow Submarine, and everybody sings.
Oh,
It's
of course.
great. Everybody sings.
Because they sang it in 6th grade with their
Right.
music teacher. They all know the words to it,
Yeah.
and it's something that you can stay in key very easily
Oh, yeah.
with that song.
Yep.
And feel like a rock star.
Yeah, we
So.
do Yellow Submarine. We do Tiny Dancer. We're kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Some '80s stuff. Karma Chameleon.
Yes. Very cool. I wouldn't admit it back in the 80s. I was like, this, but on the ride home, cranking the tune.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
What's
well,
not to
you
like?
had that. Yeah, you just had that. You couldn't like it because it wasn't cool back in the 80s to like it.
You know what? I don't think I've ever done that.
I
don't know that I've ever done that. Whatever.
I was sure that I.
No, I'm completely
Yeah.
lying.
I was all over.
When I was in high school, after I started listening to all the BRU stuff, I still had all my hair metal friends.
I unfortunately did not appreciate a lot of the stuff because I said to myself,
Right.
"Oh, that's this, that's that,"
Yeah.
and I just wouldn't.
I
I
remember
Joe Jackson. Joe Jackson was
Oh, I
probably
love
the
Joe
first
Jackson.
one that someone had to almost shove down my throat for
Yeah.
me to say. And it was a ride, excuse me, up to New Hampshire to go camping. They put the album, and I was like, "This is one of the coolest albums I
Yeah.
ever heard." Every song written.
Every song's
and I said,
good.
wow, this is amazing. And back then, I was a Led Zeppelin dude. But it was. Joe, you gotta be kidding me. You're talking about stepping out, that dude?
Yeah.
And then I said, oh my God, that bass is kind of something I'd never be able to pull off.
There's a lot of
It's
people
funny.
that never went away from HJY.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot
Yeah.
of those people out there with it. They listened to that and that was it. And
Yep.
But, when I was in
didn't
high
play on
school, I
HJY.
remember having, because you always keep your cassettes in the car, right? And I had 2 different cassette boxes. The one on the seat had had Rat and Dawkins and Metallica and all that stuff. The one that was hiding under the seat was